I was in a conversation just last night about this word surrender in the spiritual life and what that really means to people, and it was interesting, the responses that I was hearing. What's your experience of surrender in the spiritual life?
Well, first of all, it means a choice. And I think that's the most important piece of it, that it's not something that we're forced to do. And I remember back to a time not that long ago when I really needed to work. I was fresh out of a divorce. And my work was travel and public speaking. And it was getting harder and harder for me to do that because I was getting an anxiety reaction when I did. And I would even get nosebleeds when I was going to go and talk to certain groups that were kind of high-powered groups. So this was a clue to me that something needed to change, and I wasn't quite sure what it was. So when I went to the doctor and to my to a counselor, I said, I think this is spiritual in origin. I don't think this is just about being tired or anything. And in working it through, that's exactly what I found out, that I had an anxiety disorder, but it was a disordered life, that my life really needed to change, and that I was on this kind of fast track, and it wasn't sustainable anymore. So I don't think God caused it, but I feel like God was in the middle of it, calling me to a different place. What I realized is I needed to put everything I was doing on the altar. My whole identity needed to change, and I didn't know how, and I couldn't see the future of where that was going, but I just knew that I couldn't do it the way I was doing it now. And you know, you might say, well, just go get a different job, and that was an option, but it felt to me like it was bigger than that even, that not just changing jobs would make a difference. So I started downsizing my living situation, and I started reducing my expenses, and I found out all kinds of interesting things when I started that process. Like I didn't need half as many clothes as I had, and I started giving things away, and it freed me. Instead of feeling like I was being diminished, it felt like I was being enhanced. It was such an interesting kind of weird thing that happened. And I've done an icon, kind of a quilt icon that really helps me understand this. It's this person sitting in a boat in this really stormy sea without oars, and so you're just totally at the mercy of the waves. And that's how I felt. But also around the head of this person and holding the boat is this mysterious figure that you really don't see unless you look more closely. And I think that is God holding my boat, so that the waves didn't really even matter, but the boat was stable. So after I went through this experience to where I am now, I would never choose to go back to the kind of work or life I had before. But going through it was quite a surrendering experience.
What a beautiful image of the boat, though, and God and all of that. I was also struck by your comment that it really changed your identity. It didn't just change your work or even your lifestyle, it changed who you understood yourself to be.
Definitely. That's what I think surrender does. It's not just choosing to do something different for a month or so. It's really putting your whole life and your identity.
Or just choose a different kind of work that doesn't fundamentally change who you are.
Right. Right.
Thank you for sharing that.